Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the Flutter Festival Germany online event. Unfortunately, due to the COVID circumstances, we are all doing everything online, but I hope we can reach out to more people this way, and I hope that you will have a nice time with us from wherever you are, either from California, like Widget or Java, or if you're from Leipzig, Berlin, Munich, wherever you are from, you are welcome here. All right, everyone. So my name is Salih. I am one of the co-organizers of Flutter Berlin meetup, and yeah, I've been doing Flutter apps since the alpha stages. I really love the community. I've been with the community for a long time. So it is really great to be here and being able to talk into you people. This event is an organization of 3 different meetups from Germany. Like Flutter Berlin is the one that I talked about, like I mentioned. But we also have Flutter Paderborn and Flutter Munich with us. Then I would like to invite the other folks from those meetups to introduce themselves so you can see who the heroes behind the scenes as well. So I'm bringing in first Ben, then Lucas. Okay, Jens, you will introduce yourself later on, okay? Because you're already a speaker. You can say that you are part of this as well. Because without Jens, obviously, this wouldn't be possible too. So go ahead, guys. Like Ben, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. I'm Ben. I'm a co-organizer of Flutter Munich, together with Vincent, who's only participating today and watching. Yeah, back before Corona, we did lots of in-person events, like a meeting at the beer garden or meeting at the Google office. We even had some official Google speakers, so it was always pretty fun. And then Corona started and we didn't do that many events, but when it's over, we want to return to in-person events, also doing some coding nights and stuff like this that we did in the past. We also have a YouTube channel called Flutter Munich with a couple of our past talks. So if you want to see them, you can check it out. And you can also follow us on Twitter. It's just called Flutter Munich. So yeah, let's go on.
Awesome. Yeah, then I'll introduce myself as well. Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm, as Sali already said, one of the co-organizers of Flutter Paderborn. We recently joined the party. Actually, the co-organizers are myself, then also Jens and Julius. the three of us have also co-founded Widgetbook. Jens is going to give a talk today, so I don't want to say too much, but we are definitely pretty excited about the open source Flutter community as well. Are a part of it by providing Widgetbook, and also the collaboration platform that we set on top of it. That should be everything for the appetizer, and the rest is for Jens when he gives you the presentation live on stage.
Awesome, great. Yeah, I mean, I would like to thank you guys for helping me out with all of these stuff and being part of this amazing journey. Thank you very much. I'm really sure that it's going to be a great event for everyone. Please stay tuned, listen to the talks, and at the end of each talk, we will have a surprise. And if you want to see some Flutter Swag, just be online, be part of the event, and everything will be perfect. Awesome. So slowly I will take you guys down and bring back Jens and give him the stage. So bye, Ben. Bye, Lucas.
Awesome. Bye.
So another part of Flutter Paderborn is here. And he will be talking about the Widgetbook to us. Are you ready, Jens?
Yeah, I'm ready. Hi, Sally. Also, hi to the community. I'm Jens, co-founder of Widgetbook, and also the presenter of the first talk today. As Lucas and Sally already teased, I will be talking about Widgetbook. I myself have been using Flutter for about 2.5 years, 3 years. I don't really know, because time flies if you do awesome stuff, right? And I'm happy to present today. And shall we dive right into it?
Stage is yours, man. Stage is yours. And I'm taking myself off. Here we go.
Yeah, so right now you are just seeing my desktop screen. Just give me 30 seconds to talk about what's on the agenda, what I will be talking about. So first of all, let's talk about what's actually the problem. So why use Widgetbook? Then I will give a short demonstration of what is Widgetbook exactly, how does it work, how you can use it, and then we will dive into a little bit of code, and I will talk about how you can configure Widgetbook to your needs, how you can get all the widget and components into Widgetbook, and then share these widgets with your designer and your team. Yeah, so first of all, what is actually the problem that Widgetbook and what Widgetbook tackles? So we talked to a lot of Flutter developers and identified 3 major problems in their development process. So first of all, implementing different components can be really hard. And in large projects, it might also happen that developers lose a little bit of overview of which components already exists, and then they are developing a component that has already been developed by another developer in the team. And the third problem is that for designers, it can be really hard to challenge the implementation that has been created on their UI design with their corresponding files and tools. So we would like to give designers better accessibility to parts of the implementation, so the designers can help you as a developer to improve the product. Yeah, and in addition, Widgetbook also helps you to increase the overview of which widgets exist. It helps you to develop these widgets, and also it helps you to improve testing of these widgets within a visual environment. Okay, but enough talk about what might be happening. Let's dive into the actual running Widgetbook. So as you can see, I have no slides prepared. We will do a live demonstration and then dive into a little bit of code later on. So first of all, this is like the empty Widgetbook. Nothing is selected. This is just an overview of what you will see if you start Widgetbook for the very first time. And on the left side here, you can see the navigation panel. So within this navigation panel, you already can see some elements. On the top here, you can toggle all these elements, and on the top you will see that we have defined a so-called category use cases that in this case has been generated. And within this category, we have a bunch of folders. So categories and folders can help you to organize widgets within specific categories. And so you can find these widgets better if you have to show them to, for example, another developer or even a designer. Okay, so let's expand, for example, this folder. Within this folder, you are already seeing a bunch of components. So these blue elements are components or a representation, abstract representation of a widget. And within each of these components, you can see so-called use cases. So use cases will show a widget in a specific configuration. So if we just click on this use case, you will see a preview of this exact use case. And in this case, you will see a UI element, a widget, a component that will, for example, in this case, display a list tile. So we have a demo application, which is called the recipe app, and we are using this to display a widget book. Within this app, you can create recipes and then go into your shopping center and buy all the groceries necessary to do a proper and healthy meal prepping. Yeah, and as you can see, this is one use case. It shows an icon, title, and some sort of volume in which you would, for example, in this case, want to buy the tomato sauce. As a second use case, so this is like short title, and we also have another use case with a longer title. And as you can see in this demonstration, the developer, in this case, it was actually me. I didn't really think about what can happen if you put a longer title within this widget. And you can see this is not really working too well. So Widgetbook can help to identify problems within your code, within your UI elements, and it can also help to identify how your UI elements will change based on, for example, different devices. But I will talk about this later. So in this case, we have a little bit of more complex UI elements, but you can also catalog some screens. For example, this one, in this screen, you would create a new recipe for within the app, and you can even interact with some of these elements. For example, type Flutter Germany event is awesome. So you can see that you can interact. You can even click on these buttons. You will have animations, and this can help to first of all catalog your widgets, but also you can set up these widgets in like every imaginable way, and this obviously depends on what you would like to showcase and also what you would like to test within the use cases. Yeah, and last but not least, for example, as you can identify on this folder name, within this folder, we are having the base components of the material UI kit from Flutter. So I created an instance where, for example, you can see a floating action button with the plus icon, but there's also a button defined that adds a label next to this button. And yeah, these are all cases where you can catalog your use cases. So this is how you can view all your components, but we obviously have some options to interact and modify how this is displayed. So first of all, we have the toolbar in the top. So these two buttons here select a different mode of interacting with the widgets. The one I'm currently active at is for clicking, for trying out specific UI elements, and the other one helps you to zoom in, zoom out, and also move around this widget here. But let's reset this to the default and switch back to the selection mode. because I would like to dive into how you can also view, for example, different themes, or as I already teased, how you can view this implementation on different devices as well. Okay, and yeah, I've had this property panel here collapsed, and within this property panel you can yeah, select different different options of how your widget gets displayed and previewed. So the yeah, the first property is orientation. You can switch, for example, to landscape mode, and then you can view if your app is properly implemented for this type of yeah, this type of orientation. You can also cycle through these by clicking the arrow keys. In this case, it doesn't make much of sense, but maybe for the devices or other for other configuration, it might be very useful. The other very interesting property is the themes property. So you can switch between light mode and dark mode, but within Widgetbook, you can configure any theme that you would like to use for your application. So in our case, we just have light and dark, but you also might have to create another theme that, for example, is high contrast, because you know that your audience might have difficulties to see the light or dark theme. So this can also make a lot of sense to define whatever theme you have implemented for your application over here. Yeah, and here it makes a lot more sense to cycle through these different themes, but you can also view all your themes next to each other. So this can help to identify where problems within one theme might be, and yeah, it can be a great thing to make sure your application looks great on all your themes. Yeah, the next one is frames. So currently, what you're seeing here is this white border here is the frame that we are actually looking at, but especially for the components, we are currently previewing the material components, the real base components and atoms of your yeah, UI design system. They can be also be viewed in like isolation. So right here you can see that now we only see the widget without anything around it. So this is less distracting. And I don't know if you can see this over the screencast, but here you can see that these two buttons. So before we had the background, and these buttons look pretty much the same color-wise. But yeah, if we go into the non-frame mode, then we see that these buttons actually have a slightly different color to make sure that both look great in their proper theme implementation. Okay, let me take a sip of water very quickly, and then we will continue on the localization. So a lot of users wished for also visualizing the different locales and localization options within the app, because a lot of you are implementing apps that are for a broader audience, for an international audience. Therefore, it makes sense to also view the apps in different locales. And we have this great feature where you can also see all the locales next to each other. And especially design-wise, it might make sense to also have this as a comparison, because as you can see on the left here, we have the English word for adding something. We have the German word in the middle and the Spanish word on the right. And you can see that especially the German one is pretty large in size, and this might screw up your design or some of your parts within your app. So it can be really helpful to see these different locales next to each other and figure out how does your app actually perform within the different locales. And last but not least, some developers also wished for having different text scale factors, because as I already said with the themes, you might have an audience that have a little bit of problems, for example, reading small text. So we have the option to or they have the option within the operating system to increase text size, and this is what the text scale factors is also impacting. So you can, in this case, switch between these different text scale factors and look if your app properly responds to these different settings and how it will look if you have much bigger and more prominent text. So this is it regarding how you can interact with the widget book. And before we dive into the code and talk about how you can configure all of the use cases, for example, I would like to answer some questions if there are any, because I didn't have time to check out what you guys actually typed within the comments, so I can react to your widget book related questions now, and then we can dive into the code. Sally, maybe you can help me out here a little bit with the questions.
Yeah, right now I'm just waiting for any questions that might happen. Did you see any? I didn't see it so far, so I just tell the folks to write their questions if they have any.
Yeah, if you have any questions, type them right now, but we can also continue with the talk, and you can ask questions later as you wish. No pressure here.
Yeah, I just wrote to the channel so people can throw them out and we can collect them later on.
Okay. Amazing.
Cool.
Okay.
Back to you then.
All right, Sally.
Bye.
Let's continue with the talk. Let's dive a little bit into the code and talk about how you can actually configure and also set up Widgetbook. Okay. Let me do a little split screen here. Okay. So what you are seeing here is the recipe app. So this is our app that we are demoing all the Widgetbook stuff on, and we are currently in the popspec YAML file. And so let's talk about which packages and tools you need to get Widgetbook running. So today, in contrast to my last talks regarding Widgetbook, we will talk about the Widgetbook generator. So you can obviously also use Widgetbook and do everything manual, but the generator helps you to automate specific tasks and keep all your code a little bit more compact and maintainable. So you'll need 4 packages. So the first one is Widgetbook annotation. We add this as a production dependency, and then we have 3 additional packages that are required as a dev dependency. So we have build runner to generate the code. We have Widgetbook, which you can also use manually, and then we have the generator, which specifies to the build runner how the code is actually executed and how the code is generated for you. And what you are seeing here on the left has indeed been generated. So the main file here, it's pretty complicated, and as you can see, if this is expanded, we already have a lot of use cases defined, and this is the code for all the use cases. We don't have to understand what's happening here. I will go into more detail, but you can see that already for a semi-big project like this, this code is pretty lengthy and might be very hard to maintain. So this is why we implemented the generator to help you out in organizing all this stuff. And I don't know if you are familiar with generator packages. Some of you might have already used packages like freeze or JSON annotation, and Widgetbook is pretty similar to in how it works. Like these packages. So we have defined a bunch of annotations that you can use to specify or configure specific parts of Widgetbook. And I will step by step introduce you to all these annotations. Okay, so let's start with the actual main file. So the very first annotation that you are required to specify is Widgetbook app. So Widgetbook app is kind of the entry point and provides some of the necessary information to get this generator and also then the app running. So we identify an annotation by this @ sign, and then the name of the annotation in this case is Widgetbook app, and then we have different constructors for usage. So we have material, Cupertino, and you can also use a generic version of this annotation, and this allows you to specify either a material theme, a Cupertino theme, or a theme that you have been coming up with, and that is pretty custom to your application and is not specific to material or the Cupertino theming. But for this application, we will use the material theming, and as you can see, we have specified a name. This name will show up in the top left corner of Widgetbook and is to identify multiple Widgetbooks from each other, because it might be that you have running multiple of them at the same time. Then we have the devices. The devices property here of the annotation, where you can define on which devices you would like to test Widgetbook. So we have, as you can see, we have defined, for example, a lot of Apple devices, because we assume that a lot of people are, for example, implementing for Apple devices and phones. But you can also use, for example, some of our Samsung device, or define a completely custom custom device for yourself. And then we also have the text scale factors that are displayed over here. And this will generate the code that I have just shown. So if we go back to the generated file, so as you can see here, this is generated code by Widgetbook generator, and this will generate, for example, this information. This will also define this information and the text scale factors. But as you can see, we still have some other other properties that are set here, and this is also a good part where we can dive a little bit more into, for example, how can you define specific themes. So for the theming, so this is our theming file for the application, and we have a special annotation that helps you to get this going. So we have Widgetbook theme as an annotation. You specify a name, for example, light, or you can also specify it as dark. So you pick the name, and it will show up over here within Widgetbook, and then you can toggle between these different themes, as I've shown before. Okay. So regarding the locales, we have similar annotations that also makes it possible to define those. We have Widgetbook locales that you just annotate to a code element, and also the delegates. So as you can already see, this is all pretty similar, and the generator will analyze your code base, and then will put together the Widgetbook for you, so you don't have to figure out what has to go where. You just have to use the annotations, and then it will be generated for you, and application. Okay, so the problem that we're having right now is, okay, we for example have defined all this property panel here, but we still don't have any use cases defined that we can preview within Widgetbook. So let's talk about this quickly. Okay, for this we will dive into the components file over here. And as you can see, this file here, for example, defines all the material components that you are seeing under this material folder over here. And we will look at how the floating action button use cases have been defined. So for this, you need a function that returns a widget and accepts build context as a parameter. And especially the build context allows you to do anything you need with for building this this component. I have to agree that that this floating action button here is pretty simple, not really complex. But yeah, if you would like to see, for example, how specific screens are designed, this will look a little bit more complex because you also have to put in some other data. But yeah, here for this use case, we are just returning the floating action button. We have an empty onPressed method, so I can press this, and this will also animate. But as you can see, since the function here is empty, it will not run anything. But yeah, at the same time, if we, for example, set this to null, the button will also show, for example, the disabled state. So you can very specifically define how these UI elements will show up, and you can build different cases of what could be tested by your what could be tested by your development team, but also will showcase to your designers how these buttons are looking as an implementation, in contrast to the design file that the designer has been provided. Yeah, and once you have defined these this function, you will annotate it with the Widgetbook use case annotation. You will provide a name, so the name will show up within this navigation tree here. So we have icon over here, and the extended one is right below. And then you will define the type on which component you are adding this use case. And in this case, this is a floating action button. And then the generator will analyze the type and obtain the name from this type, which is obviously the same as it's typed out here, and will show this as a component within Widgetbook. And based on this method, you can define any screen component or also animation for your application and showcase these widgets. Yeah, so Widgetbook use case is the annotation that you will probably use most, and therefore I would say that it's the most important one. Okay, so these are all the things that you need to configure Widgetbook to build a library. But before you will actually see this and get this generated code over here, you have to run one command within for example, the terminal. And this command will run the build runner. So as you can see in the command, we will do flutter pub run build runner. And then you can either type watch, which will look for changes within your file system and then regenerate the code, or you will do build and it will just run the code generation once. So when I'm developing, I'm always using watch because I can modify my files on the fly a little bit like in hot reloading, and then the code generation takes over, generates all my use cases, and they will show up in Widgetbook. Yeah. So this is it regarding how you can configure Widgetbook. Like in the next few minutes, I would also like to talk about how you can share the Widgetbook and also your components with other team members that might not have like Flutter installed, that don't have Flutter installed. So this is part of how can other people access the Widgetbook. But before I do, I think it's a great time to also ask your questions. If you have none, we can have it as last time. I will continue, and maybe you come up with some Widgetbook related questions, and then we can talk about those. Okay, so I'm currently seeing one question regarding state management, but since it's not related to Widgetbook, I would say we postpone it a few more minutes until the talk is over, and then maybe Sally or Ben can talk about what their opinion is, and yeah. Okay, currently waiting a little bit that maybe some questions might bubble in. Also taking a sip of water. Okay, yeah, so I will continue for now. Make sure to ask your questions later. So let's go into full screen code mode. So and the question, as I've already teased. Yeah, so we have a great question that is related to what I would love to talk about next. So Mike asked how you can integrate this with your CD pipeline. So CD is a continuous deployment, and also makes sense in a continuous integration environment. And yeah, so we also defined an action that allows you to share the Widgetbook with our Widgetbook Cloud platform, and this will also partially answer your question. So we, for example, we are using in this example GitHub Actions, and we have defined a build action over here. So for those people that are maybe using GitLab or other solution, we also have something for you as well. But I will also explain every step within this configuration file, so you will understand what's happening and why. Yeah, so here in GitHub Actions, we will first check out the code, so download the code to the action runner, and then install a Flutter environment on this action. So in this case, this will install the latest stable version of Flutter, which is 2.10.4 or something like this. And then we will build the Widgetbook. And in comparison to what you would be building for your application, so for your application, you would probably say Flutter build web or Flutter build iOS or something like this. But in our case, for deploying the Widgetbook, we will also say Flutter build web, but then we are in addition specifying a target. So which function, which main function, which app should be deployed. In this case, this is a generated Widgetbook. And if you're having a look at the generated source code, in the top here, you will see that this defines also a main method as our application, which defines the main method. And yeah, by this command, we tell the compiler and the build environment that it should be building the Widgetbook instead of the actual app. And yeah, then we have the Widgetbook Cloud action over here. This will upload the Widgetbook to our cloud platform, and you will need two informations to get this running. So the first one is you need a path to the build version, and you also need an API key that you can obtain on our platform. Okay, and yeah, I will show you now what the Widgetbook Cloud solution looks like and how you can share information with your designer. So over here, we already have the solution Widgetbook Cloud open. And yeah, so the first thing that you would do is you would click this add button at the project and type a name. So in these cases, I also tested the recipe app for GitLab and Bitbucket, but the actual result will always be the same. And therefore, we will be looking at this exact project here that I called recipe app. So I call this recipe app. But you can also do this with, for example, a package that is, for example, defining all your components that you are using within a company. Okay, let's look at what's happening if I click here. So as you can see in the top here, we have me, and we also have Lucas as project members. Then we have a lot of builds that have been created by this exact build pipeline here on GitHub. And then below here we have the admin zone. Since I'm the admin, I can see all the information and also load the API key that if I've no builds defined, I will first of all load the API key, put this API key here or within some sort of GitHub secret, and then I can start running this this action and deploy different versions of Widgetbook to Widgetbook Cloud. Yeah, and once I click here, the Widgetbook will be loaded for this exact version that has been uploaded. So you can either use multiple versions or you can use one single version for example, a branch. So we are currently looking at the feature branch for this Flutter Germany festival here. And as you can see, we have all the information, all the widget books that the developer, in this case us, have been defined. So the designer can easily access this via the web and now play around with these different configurations here and check this out in portrait mode, light, dark mode. So everything that you have seen before is now accessible in web or on Widgetbook Cloud as well. Okay, so this is it regarding my presentation. Now you still have some time to ask your questions. I hope, Mike, your question has been answered. If not, let me know, and I will go into greater detail on how to get this running. And maybe I can summon Sally or Ben back to the stage.
Yeah, hi, I'm back. Thanks for the presentation, Jens. I think Widgetbook is pretty awesome. It's at least in my top 3 of my favorite Flutter packages, right after Riverpod, I think, which I like for state management stuff. So it's a bit unrelated, but do you still have questions? Otherwise, I'm also the Swag guy today. So we will have a quiz after every talk where you can win prizes. So the first quiz is going to be, I think, 5 swag bags that we are going to raffle away. And then we will have 5 t-shirts. And then for the last quiz, we have like a big Dash plushie and a cookie cutter Dash. So those are the main prizes. So if you want to win something, just participate. I'm going to share a slide soon with a participation code and the website address. You can just join with your browser or mobile phone where you answer some questions. And then if you want to participate, please enter your either Twitter name or an email address so I can then contact you and send you the codes where you can then contact me, and then you get a code that you enter on the website and they will send you the swag to your home. So do we have some more questions or not? So Jens, do you want to answer?
So we have one question regarding the Flutter action, right? So I've always used the Flutter action in version 1 and I never had any problems with this. But you have been talking about a pretty recent version of Dart, so it just might be that they have been a little bit slow on updating this this exact version, but I assume that it is already fixed. But I might be wrong. I don't know. So I've never had problems with this, but yeah, maybe you have a special case or a special configuration that might make things fail. I can't really answer this one, but maybe Ben has an idea on how this might work.
Me? No, I'm just using the official Flutter action on GitHub. It's working fine. Yeah, sometimes they need a while, I guess, for the latest versions. So I can also not answer there. Yeah. Apart from that, I don't know. You want to win some swag, guys? Okay.
I think
you 30 more seconds.
Is always. Yeah, I think swag is always great. Yeah, I've also the chat just mentioned that he shouldn't have strict to the latest version, and I've just looked this up and I realized that they already have version 2 of this. So it seems that my file is actually pretty outdated, but somehow I never had problems. So yeah.
So we are doing the quiz, right? So guys, if you want to join, just go to the website and enter the code that is visible here. And then join with your email address or Twitter handle or something where I can contact you with, so you can actually get the prizes. Does it work? Okay, so we have a couple of people that joined, 5 people. Let's wait a bit longer. So we have 5 total prizes, so the chances are pretty high that you get something. Whoever has the most correct answers or is the fastest is going to win. Okay, 10 people, nice. Okay, let's go. I think this was enough time. Start with the first question. What is Widgetbook? Yeah, I think it's an IDE. Well, everybody knew what it was. Let's continue. Question 2. Which configurations of your widget can you test with Widgetbook? Oh, 2 wrong answers. Gets interesting.
It's not really wrong, right?
Yeah. Okay, next question. What is not the value of Widgetbook Cloud? Would be too great, right? To make React code out of it. And our final question, which annotation exists with the generator package?
Let's see how many get this one right.
Everybody listened to your talk, I guess. Yeah, not everybody. Cool. This is the first quiz. Who won? Congratulations to the first 5 winners. Mike.
Mike was really fast.
Yeah. So now we just entered names, but are those then also your Twitter names? Or oh, you've reached the end of the presentation. Okay. I'm a bit of a Mentimeter noob. Didn't get to
maybe
edit
we
my
can
name.
we can screenshot this, and the people can hit you up on Twitter, and then claim their prizes. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, if they are super honest. Okay. I mean, does everybody have Twitter? First come, first served. Okay. Sally says it's fine. Okay. Well then, how do we share this? So I can share what I want on Twitter. So I'm at BlackGen2 on Twitter. So if you won the raffle, just write me there with the name that you participated with. So for example, if you're Bram the Broken, then tell me, hey, I'm Bram the Broken. And do it quickly. So actually the correct person gets the swag. If you don't have Twitter, what are we going to do instead? I don't know. You can also write me an email.
Yeah, great idea.
I don't have a good slide with my email right now. So BlackGen2 on Twitter, yeah, or just going to write it in the chat maybe. Yeah, I was using Gentoo in the past, and then I was not very creative with a good Twitter handle, so I still have that now. But then have fun with the prizes, guys. I'm going to send you the codes as soon as I have your email addresses or DMs on Twitter. And then we are going into the next talk, right? Which is about Sentry and Jonas. So Sally, take it away.
Yeah, it was a really great talk. Thank you, Jens. Thank you, Ben, for moderating the quiz. You will not see him for the first time, people. Just stay around, stick around. You will have more chances to win more stuff. So I will say goodbye to you two now, and I will pull in our next MC and next speaker. So
all right.
Bye, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Okay, Lucas. So I will be off now. I will pull Jonas in. You can do the talk, and I will pull you in when you give me the cue. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited for Jonas' talk now. So for anyone who does not know Jonas yet, Jonas is a Flutter developer at MediaMarkt Saturn. For all of you who don't know MediaMarkt Saturn, it's a pretty big company in Germany that are selling all the great hardware that we as software developers need. And yeah, so Jonas is going to talk about error and performance monitoring with Sentry, as Sally already mentioned. And yeah, I'm pretty excited on what he has to share with us. And for all of you who did not have the chance to participate in the last quiz, don't worry, we still have plenty of chances for you to win some swag, because after Jonas' talk, we also prepared a quiz where every one of you has the next chance of winning Flutter Swag. So yeah, I'll leave it to Jonas. Stage is yours.
Cool. Hey, I'm Jonas, and I'm going to talk about error and performance monitoring with Sentry. But first, a few words about myself. So I'm from Germany, as you just heard, and I love observability in my code. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm using Flutter since about version 1, and I'm also the author of a Flutter favorite package, namely feedback. In the past, I've contributed a lot of code to Sentry. I think I'm actually the top contributor by lines of code. Yes, and you can also follow me on Twitter or GitHub if you want to. But yeah, what I'm going to talk about is error and performance monitoring. What Sentry is, how to set it up in code, and then I'm going to show you how to use it and what you can expect from it. Okay, so first, what is error monitoring? So it's the reporting of caught and uncaught exception, and it helps you to debug issues which the user experienced. And it's useful and important because crashing is just a bad user experience. Crashing often has a high business impact. Yeah, just imagine you have an e-commerce app and the user wants to buy something, but he isn't able to because something went wrong. You want to get notified of that, yeah, because otherwise it's really bad. So, and users might stop using the app because they can't use it, and they also might leave bad reviews. Performance monitoring is not quite like error monitoring, but it goes in the similar direction. With performance monitoring, you measure how long specific operations are taken. For example, HTTP requests, expensive calculations, database queries, or reading and writing files. Yes, and now what is Sentry? Sentry is a service which allows you to monitor errors, crashes, and also the application performance. You can proactively find, try and fix errors and performance issues with it. And it's available as a service or as a self-hosted variant. Sentry is basically available for every language and framework which you can imagine. But the two most important ones for this talk are the Dart and Flutter SDK. It's used by companies like Reddit, Disney, and also by GitHub, and a lot of more companies, which are also quite big. Sentry is available for Dart only and also for Flutter. And it's available for all of Flutter's supported platforms, such as Android, iOS, and so on. Android, iOS, and macOS also have a native integration, which means that the pure Android Sentry integration works together with the Flutter integration to make your monitoring even better. And it's also a Flutter favorite package. Fun fact, Sentry has also a mobile application, which is also written in Flutter. It's open source and you can contribute to it if you want to. It's available for Android and iOS, and they also use their own SDK for it to monitor errors and performance. I've prepared an example application, which you can see here. It's just a really simple application which loads issues of the Flutter repo. And if you click on one of the issues, it loads a detailed view of it with the comments on the issue. Yeah. And I've integrated, of course, Sentry into it, and I'll show you more of it later on. So the first step of setting Sentry up is to go to Sentry and grab an DSN. The DSN is basically a key which ties the project on Sentry.io to your application, so that Sentry knows where to send error and performance traces to. Yeah, and well, as you can see here, we have our usual start of the app, which is the run app call. And in order to set Sentry up, we have to wrap it with the Sentry Flutter init call. And the options callback gives you the chance to set it up like you want to. So I'll come back to it later. Next on is the coming one of the integrations which Sentry has. So for performance monitoring, you want to have integrations. So for performance monitoring, there are things like the Sentry asset bundle, which helps you to trace how long it takes to load an asset. And then there's the Sentry Navigator Observer, which starts automatic performance traces on each navigation event. And it also enriches your error reports with navigation events. In addition to that, you also have the Sentry HTTP client integration, or the DIO integration, which enriches your error and performance monitoring with information about HTTP requests. I'm also going to show it to you how that works later on in the example application. Okay, what do I get with that? Starting with this integration, you already get uncaught Dart exception reports. Every exception which is reported to flutter.onError also gets automatically reported. And all of the reports are enriched with extensive device and environment information. You're also getting automatic breadcrumbs for lifecycle events. Breadcrumbs are kinda like logs, but not exactly logs. So for each crash report, you want to have the steps of the user, which the user did before the crash occurred. And breadcrumbs are, kind of like a trail of steps of breadcrumbs, which lead to this error. Also, in addition to the lifecycle events, we are also getting breadcrumbs for system events like low memory events. Also, you're getting automatic breadcrumbs for print calls and for all platforms with native integration. You're also getting all of the breadcrumbs of the native integrations. They, of course, differ based on the native integration. So iOS, for example, has different breadcrumbs than Android. Yeah, and with the navigation observer, as said, you're getting automatic breadcrumbs for navigation events. It also starts automatic performance traces on the navigation. This is important because most of the time, when you're going from one page to another page, you're loading something. Like, for example, in this example application, when I navigate, I'm going to show something, and I load the comments of this issue. With the HTTP integrations, you're getting automatic performance traces for HTTP requests. Also, if you're using Sentry for your backend, the performance traces from the app are automatically connected to the backend traces. Well, if you're using Sentry on the backend too. So, and this allows you to, basically trace the performance through your whole application, not only the app or the backend, but also both together. Also, since the latest beta, you're getting automatic reports for the app start times and frame metrics on performance traces. This is quite cool because it allows you to also monitor if you're dropping frames, if frames are just slow, or if everything is fine. Okay, now I'm going to show you the code and how to use it. Okay, so now we have the application here. I'm also going to upload this application to GitHub, so if you want to look into it in detail later on, you have the chance to. So I have hooked up my project with my DSN here. You can go to Sentry, set up a new project, which I've already done. And in the settings, on the client SDK, you're able to get the DSN. I've also added the logging integration for the official Dart logging package. All logs which are done by the logging package are also added as breadcrumbs. Then I've also set the tracer sample rate, which basically enables the performance monitoring to 1. The tracer sample rate is a percentage, basically. If you set it to 1, everything is reported. If you set it to 0, nothing gets reported. For debugging, it's useful to set it to 1, but in the release mode, you probably want to start by 0.01 or something like that, because otherwise you're reporting way too much performance traces. Then I've added also my package name as an in-app include. The package name is what you're seeing in your pubspec.yaml as a name. This is useful because, as you know, stack traces have frames from all of the application. Not only your code, but also code from third-party libraries, from the Flutter code itself, and other code. But you're only able to fix the, well, mostly, you're mostly able to just fix the issues in your code. So your code is the most important one, and you want to highlight that. So here we have a report, which I've also did as preparation. A full stack trace, a full error report with a stack trace looks like this. And as you can see, there are a lot of frames which are coming out of the Flutter framework itself, but they are not really relevant to your debugging of the error. So you want to know which are the frames which come out of your application, and it's just this frame. And in order to make Sentry know what your frames are, you have to say your package name. Also, I've considered all of the in-app frames as not in-app by default, so that it's get reported nicely, and I only get the most relevant frames presented by default. Yes, that's the basic setup of Sentry. Then next up is the Sentry asset bundle, which adds performance traces.
Sorry, Jonas. Apologies. Can you make the font a bit bigger? So
yes, of course.
There were some comments, so it would be really cool, right? And I vanish.
Is that big enough? If someone in... I hope that's now big enough. Okay. If not, please raise your voice again. Okay. The Sentry asset bundle adds performance traces to the loading of assets. Okay, the comment said the font size is now good. Thank you. I've also added the navigation observer, which starts automatic performance traces on each navigation. Okay. Yeah, that's the basic setup. So next on to the GitHub service, which loads the issues and also the comments. I'm using the Sentry client here and enable also the network tracing so that I get automatic network traces. I'm also seeing that there are a few questions. I'll go over them later on. Okay, I should also zoom in into the browser. Thank you. Okay, now I'll show Sentry in action. So I've added a button here, which is basically a bug button which reports an issue to Sentry or a crash. This button here calls this function. And yes, so I just manually throw an exception and then capture the exception. Just doing a hot reload and then pressing the button. Now, nothing happens for the user. Well, that shouldn't happen right now. Okay. Once again, I press the button, this code gets called, and then I should be able to view it in Sentry. Okay, it seems like... now it loads. Okay, so the exception, which was just thrown and reported to Sentry, can be seen here. And now you're able to see all of the information which Sentry collects and, well, gives you to have as much context for your error report as possible. So first, here's the exception, the message, and also the stack trace. Then we have the breadcrumbs over here, which is a list of things which happened before. So, for example, a navigation event, which was navigating between the overview and the detail page. Also, the HTTP requests to get the comments, for example, how long it took, if it was successful, and so on. You also get a lot of other information, like accessibility information, which just says which accessibility features were activated or disabled. In this case, none of them were enabled. I also get a lot of information about the app itself, with which culture I'm using the app. For example, I'm in Germany, so my locale is DE, and the time zone is the Central European. I'm not sure what the S is for time zone. Also, I'm seeing that I'm running my application in debug mode, that I have 8 processors, yeah. And a lot of more information are also available. Okay, but we can further improve on those reports, which I'm going to show you now. So now I'm going to capture the exception again, but I'm also using the ID which gets returned. The ID is basically the identifier of the report. With this ID, I can call Sentry capture user feedback, which is a way to ask a user for feedback on the crash. I've written a simple dialog which shows and then called Sentry capture user feedback. And this looks like this. Once again, I capture the exception, but then I'm going to ask the user, hey, it looks like something went wrong. What happened? Then the user is able to enter his name or email. So I'm Jonas, and I'm providing a helpful message. Then I'm going to submit that crash report. And on Sentry, I'm seeing now that the user sent a, hopefully a helpful message for the crash report. Okay, that's for it for now on error monitoring. Okay, I'm going to answer now a few of the questions you're having. How does Sentry compare to Crashlytics? Well, yes. So after using both, I'm giving this presentation, so you could say I'm opinionated, but I think that Sentry gives you a much better insight into your application than file-based Crashlytics. You're having a lot of information available. Also, the integration into the Flutter framework itself is way better and more. Now I don't have the correct word for it, but it's much broader. So, for example, Crashlytics doesn't have native support for Dart stack traces. It has it for Java, Kotlin, Swift, and Objective-C, for example, but the support for Dart isn't as good. Also the performance monitoring from Firebase isn't as good as the one from Sentry. What would you say is the most overlooked performance optimization which you've indicated with Sentry? I'm Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance yet to roll out performance monitoring into production, so I don't have a good answer to that. My app is an offline app by nature. How can I disable Sentry completely during runtime with a button click? It should be off at startup. Some users are very privacy savvy. So you can disable Sentry by either not providing a DSN, so just setting it to an empty DSN that disables Sentry. Or you can also configure an before send callback. By returning null in this callback, it automatically drops every reporting of events. Yeah, and as you can see, you can even conditionally drop events here. So you can say, for example, I don't want report socket exceptions. So on each socket exception, we're returning null, and those are dropped. And you can also mutate your events here to do whatever you want with them. For example, to replace breadcrumbs if you like to, or give it even more information. Okay, the next question is, does Sentry work with different flavors by using separate Sentry initializations? I'm not quite sure I'm understanding the question right, but I would think that you're able to provide different DSNs so that it gets reported to different projects on Sentry. There's also a way to, I think you can set the environment to different values. By default, it's using, I think, debug, profile, and release from the Flutter framework as environment, but you're free to provide whatever you want to. I think that were all questions for now. Okay, moving on to performance monitoring. So, yes. Yeah. So let me first show you how it looks on Sentry. I have until now enabled all of the integrated performance monitoring features. And this transaction and this transaction are generated by that. The refresh issues transaction, I'll come to it later on. Okay, now the root transaction is this one. And it basically looks like this. It didn't pick up anything. It's just the navigation event. So you may or may not have good luck with that. The detail page transaction, on the other hand, should be better. Okay, now here we're seeing after the navigation that a HTTP request was fired, which was for the comments of the issue. So when I click on here, this content is just passed from one page to the other, so it doesn't get loaded, but the comments are loaded on demand if I switch to this page. So that's the request we're seeing here. Then I've intentionally put a future.delay in there to show this one. It says basically that there's a missing instrumentation, which usually indicates that there might be something to look into. Then after this delay, there's a deserialization, which was manually added by myself. It didn't take long because there was just one comment to deserialize. And then the performance transaction is over. Okay, so how have I done this? As you can see here, the get comments call is just a regular HTTP request with the HTTP package. And here we're seeing the delay for this missing instrumentation. And then I've deserialized the response. And now it gets pretty interesting because now I'm going to show you how exactly you can do such a performance trace. So first, you have to call sentry.getSpan. So because we're using the navigation observer, a performance transaction is automatically started on each navigation event. That's why we don't have to do that ourselves. So we can just call sentry.getSpan and start a new child. And this is the operation name to that, which is then displayed over here. So I'm going to deserialize the data, and after that, I set the performance span status to OK to indicate that everything went fine and, well, everything is OK. In case of an error, I'm going to also set the throwable or the exception onto the span and set the span status to turn an error. This allows Sentry to connect the exception and the performance transaction together. So if you would have an error here, you would see an indication over here to the exact error report. And it would also show you that this that there went something wrong with this performance span. And finally, we have to finish the performance span. This is especially important because if you never finish the performance span, nothing gets reported. Okay, and well, after all of this kind of celebration, we're returning the data and then we are able to show the data. Okay, but what if I don't have an automatic performance transaction created? Well, we also can do that ourselves, which I'm going to show here. So I have this button over here, which reloads all of the issues. And this button calls this method. So if I press reload, everything gets reloaded. And also this reports a transaction. So I'm going to start the transaction. I give it a description, which is then shown here. I also have to provide an operation. Sentry has a list of available operation names predefined in their documentation pages. And it helps to kind of like group performance traces on Sentry. So there are performance trace operation IDs for HTTP requests, database queries, and so on. which also helps you to figure out where you do have the most problems in your performance in your application. Then we have to make this transaction globally available by setting bind to scope to true. This makes it available for Sentry.getSpam. This is also the magic which makes all of the integrations work. Because, well, as you probably can imagine, you don't want to pass this transaction around to every class in the code. And also, you most likely aren't able to. For example, the HTTP client by default doesn't take any parameters. And then the rest of it looks just like the span which I've shown previously. Okay. Are there any more questions? I don't think so. Awesome. Yeah, that's already it from me. Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the great presentation. Jonas, is it Jonas or Jonas? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, in German it's Jonas, but Jonas is also fine.
Awesome. Cool, yeah. Sentry is a really great topic, and I'm sure everyone will actually use it in their apps and learn a lot about it. That was really cool to see it also in action. And now I will bring Ben to the stage, and Ben and you will be going through the quiz together, and actually we will give away some swag to the folks. All right? Cool. So Ben, I'm
hi.
now. I will pull in the screen now. I'm gone.
Very good. So for the first quiz, it went pretty smoothly. All the winners contacted me. They have their swag codes. So I hope you get your swag back and are happy with it. For the second quiz, we are going to raffle away 5 t-shirts again. So the first 5 winners, they will get a t-shirt and can also either write me an email or DM me on Twitter. I actually noticed that I didn't enable DMs, so it's fixed now. And now you can write me. Okay, let's wait maybe like 30 to 60 seconds for some more people to join before we start the first question. So, I have 6 people already. But I actually learned a lot from the talk. So now I'm also going to use performance monitoring with Sentry. And also I have to use way more custom breadcrumb element thingies. I'm also not really using this.
Yeah, it's really helpful to figure out what's wrong.
Mm-hmm. What I also found out is you can even attach file uploads. So that's also pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are ready. So almost 15 people joined. Let's continue with our Sentry quiz. Which Flutter platforms does Sentry support? It's only web, right? Everybody is correct.
Yeah, that was an easy one.
It gets harder. Next question. Which of the following performance integration is not supported by Sentry out of the box? Is it file I/O or HTTP requests? Asset bundler? What is it? Yeah, people were pretty divided. It was a hard question, I guess. Okay,
Yeah.
at least 5 people got it right. Let's move on. Which of the following platforms have native integrations available? Oh, only 2 people got it wrong. So what does this mean? Everybody just answered Android? Okay. Yeah, if there are multiple correct answers, I guess you only have to make one correct, right? Last question. What is Sentry not? Be careful, there's a not at the end of the question. And we have 10 people that were correct. So who's the winner? Congratulations, Bean. So the first 5 people, so up until Akanksha, can contact me and we'll get a code to redeem the t-shirt. So that's it from the quiz. And next up, we have a talk about golden tests, right? And after this, of course, the last final quiz with the biggest prizes. So have fun and good luck the next time, guys.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Jonas, one more time for your presentation. It was really useful and really valuable for everyone that are listening. And yeah, have a nice rest of the week. Now I will pull you back, and Ben, they will see you one more time, right? So they will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, now I will pull in Lucas and Giuseppe again, and yeah, they will be guiding you through for the next talk. Hi guys, I'm off. Giuseppe, just share your screen, and I will put that in as well.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, I'll just give it a quick introduction. So so for everyone, Giuseppe is gonna give a quick talk about golden tests, which is a pretty exciting topic. As some of you maybe have already made the connection of Widgetbook and golden tests, because we really think that it's going to be possible to also create golden tests by using Widgetbook. Maybe we can talk about that later as well, or maybe Giuseppe could also explore a little regarding that, because Giuseppe recently also used Widgetbook. Maybe he even has an idea of how Widgetbook could make golden tests easier. But yeah, enough from me. Stage is yours, Giuseppe. Enjoy your talk.
Thanks a lot, Lucas. I actually have been thinking about the same idea. So yeah, I'll introduce myself first. So hi, I'm Giuseppe, or Pepe, and I've been working with Flutter for about 1.5 years now. I actually studied electrical engineering, but I wanted to do something more iterative, more quicker and exciting. So that's kind of how I got into Flutter. And so I'll be talking about golden tests with Alchemist. And you may be wondering, what the hell are golden tests, and what has an alchemist to do with Flutter? So yeah, let's dive right into it. So what does an alchemist do? It turns stuff into gold. But in this context, golden tests are just another name for screenshot tests. So in a golden test, you render your widget, you instantiate it, maybe you've written widget tests, and so you know, okay, you call tester.pumpWidget, give it your widget, and the framework will, well, render your widget and run the code, which will actually run when you run your real app. And what you can do, because Flutter is so powerful and owns the whole rendering pipeline, is you can actually save the rendered widget as an image, as a screenshot for if that's easier to imagine. And you can then compare that image later on with a reference image, which you generated previously. And this image you generated previously is called the golden test because, yeah, that's basically your test expectation. And well, why should you care about golden tests? They really help you a lot in keeping a consistent design of your app, because it can be pretty hard to, or it can be pretty easy to miss tiny differences. For example, if you change just a little bit of padding or you change a color a little bit, maybe it could go unnoticed and it could break your design. So another reason is that you can make sure whether your design works on, say, very big screens like tablets or small screens like an iPod Touch. You probably don't want to keep all these different devices. Like you don't want to buy all these different devices and run your app manually and see if the design works. We've seen Widgetbook can help you with that, but it'd be nice if you also had it in tests, and that's what golden tests are perfect for. As a bonus, you also get the screenshots, the golden images, which you can always look at without having to spin up your app. So, as I have already said, a golden test basically consists of, on the left side, a golden image, a master image. This is the basis or your text expectation. And let's say you change something in your app, you're refactoring a bit, and yeah, suddenly the same widget now looks like this. This is the test image you would get when running your golden test, well, the way you run your normal test with the Flutter test command. And what the framework will do now is it will compare these two screenshots pixel by pixel, and if there's any difference, your test will fail. Now, in this example, you will clearly see the difference between the two screenshots, but even if just a single pixel changed, the test would tell you, and that's great for catching things you would normally that would normally pass unnoticedly. And the great thing is that it will not only tell you that your test failed, but it will also tell you like by how much percent the images differ. And you also get these cool and fancy diff images here, which pinpoint or make it easier to actually see what's the difference. Because as I said, if you just change the padding a little bit, it would be really hard to catch with your eye. So how do we actually write golden tests? So the Flutter framework actually already offers you this neat matcher down here, matches golden file. And this is responsible for generating the images and later on comparing them. But before you can run this test expectation, you of course have to do several things. Like if you want that you can actually see the fonts in your golden test, you will have to load the fonts. And this method here I'm using, this comes from the Golden Toolkit package offered by eBay. Yeah. Then the next steps are to just instantiate the widget you want to test, pump it into the widget tree as you know it from normal widget tests. And this is another specialty when you run the golden tests the old or boring way. You also have to wait for the images to load if you are using things like asset image or network image. Otherwise, they won't show up in your golden images. So yeah, then you run this matches golden file, which will generate your golden master images. If you run it with this option, if you run the test with --, update goldens, it will generate the master image. If you run it with, well, without --, update goldens, it will run the actual golden test. Okay, that's great. Now you've seen the golden images that we generated previously, but what if you would like to render it on a bigger or smaller size? You would have to run something like this. Seems really weird. You get the binding, the test Flutter binding, and then you set some window property to the size that you want your widget or your screen to be. Okay, that's not very fluttery, at least that's how it feels for me. And like that's a very imperative approach of testing. And well, we as Flutter developers love declarative approaches. So it would be nice if there was another way to test, to do golden tests. And as you've already also seen, testing on different device sizes is difficult too, because you have to handle this test widgets Flutter binding thing. Yeah, another thing is that this way you will get one image file for a single rendered widget on a single screen size. So let's say you have a widget which you want to test in 10 different configurations on 10 different devices. You would get 100 files. But it would be nice if you could actually like put all these different configurations into just one file. And spoiler alert, is possible with Alchemist. Another annoying thing is that rendering shadows is disabled by default. You can see that right here. This is an app bar, and maybe you know that under an app bar there's a shadow. Now normally shadows don't look like black bars like in here, but by default in golden tests they are rendered as black shadows or black boxes, solid black boxes, because there could always be inconsistencies because the shadows aren't always guaranteed to be identical. Yeah, and now I have a tricky question for you coming up, because another problem with golden tests is that you have to run the golden image generation on the same operating system as the machine running your CI/CD pipeline. So let's say I run it, I generate the golden images on a Mac, and my pipeline runs on Linux. You will run into problems, and you will see why. Because now you will have to spot the difference between this image, which is generated on a Linux machine, and this image, which is generated on a Mac OS machine. So what do you think? In percent, how many pixels are different? Or are they actually different at all? Maybe you can write it into the comments. So any estimates? I see no difference. Yeah, it's really hard to see with the screen sharing, I guess. Yeah, Java's writing, I'm pretty sure it's different. Well, you're right. Now, I told you that golden tests generate diff images, and right here you have the diff image of these two images. 5.36% of the pixels are different. Why the heck are they different on a pixel level? Like it's the literally same icon data between in these two tests that generated these two test images. But the thing is, rendering text is a task of the operating system, and as it turns out, Mac OS smooths fonts. So on Linux, it's a bit crispier, while on Mac OS, it's a bit smoother. So you can actually see it if I zoom in or if I change between these two slides. You see how on Mac OS it's a bit bigger. Okay, so what can we do? Help, SOS. Let's call the alchemists. And now I will switch to my Visual Studio Code and do a live demo for you. So Alchemist is a package which was developed by Very Good Ventures and Betterment, and it's open source. I'm sure you've heard of Very Good Ventures. They do things like blog and nice packages. So it came out about a month ago, and yeah, let's just look into this sample here. So now you're able to say, I want a golden test group. This is like a wrapper or container for all of your widgets which you will render. And now you're able to say, okay, let's have some different scenarios. Let's have a list tile with a title, one with a subtitle, with a trailing icon, and so on.
And sorry, Giuseppe, can you make the fonts bigger?
Oh, sure, sorry.
No worries. I will just say this and leave it.
Is it better now? Or should we zoom in a little more? Okay, I hope you can read it now, sorry. Yeah, so the nice thing is that now Alchemist will generate one single image file containing all of your scenarios. Let's take a look at what this code will actually generate. So as you can see, we defined 3 different scenarios. Actually, I put it to the side. So, oops. Almost got it. Okay. So now you can see one scenario is like one grid table cell. And so this solves the problem of that you would otherwise end up with as many image files as you want different configurations of your widget. And yeah, so this is a very simple example now. Another problem that I was talking about with the vanilla approach was testing on different device sizes. So let's say you want to see whether your screen looks good on an iPod and on a tablet as well, and maybe in landscape too. Now to do this, this is not included in the Alchemist package right now, but it will probably merged in at some point. To do this, I have, where is it? Golden test helpers device. I've written this device class, and you can give it a size, a name, some other nice things. And then you can define, okay, let's have an iPod, let's have an iPhone, and our tablet. And the values you see here for the size, I got them, well, by just running a simulator and running a Flutter app on an iPhone 11 simulator, and then running media query.off context.size, which will get you the actual size. The nice thing is you can also include the save area, which insets your content to well, by the notch dimensions. You know, on the iPhone 11 you have the notch on the top, but you don't want to render anything under the notch, so that's why you can also define the save area. And this is the one thing we need. Another thing we need is a special kind of golden test device scenario. Now this is very implementation detail. You can just copy this over if you want to run your golden tests on different devices. Basically, you take a device and then you set the media query, which tells your app, hey, how big can I be? You set it to the property of the device. And now you are able to run a golden test of your, let's say, whatever appears when you start your app. So when you instantiate my app, you just put it into the golden test device scenario that we have just created. And you will run this code for all devices you have defined in the list. So right here, I've defined tablet, iPhone 11, and iPod. Now let's look what this code will generate. Let's go to Goldens. And now we see we have one file for each device. And you have it on an iPhone 11. On an iPod, you can see it's smaller already. And on a tablet, which is huge. Okay, now what do we do if we want to test it on landscape as well? Very simple. We just take the devices list and, oops, let's say, okay, we also want landscape iPod, and let's run the golden test again with update goldens. So the images will be generated again. And if we now look into here, a new file was generated, iPod landscape, and you can see your beautiful widget in landscape. Okay, so that's it for the live demo. Of course, you can, I showed you this file which contains just your my app widget. You don't have to do it this way. You can just test individual widgets. You could write a golden test testing only your app bar or whatever. Yeah. So that's it. Thanks for your attention. And let's see if we have some questions. Okay.
I'm already back.
Has a question. Okay, where do the screenshots appear? Do they appear in some simulators? So I can show you if you pull in my screen again. So when you run a golden test, let's go here. You pass the golden test method from Alchemist a file name. Okay, I'll just try to repeat the question. The question was, where do the screenshot images appear, and where does the comparison take place when a test fails? So you pass the golden test method a file name, and then it will create these directories relative to well, the file you're in. So I'm in this file right now, so it will generate the files in the goldens directory here, and then under, well, the file name you gave it. And if it fails, it will generate a failures folder containing all these div images. And I just noticed that I have actually forgotten to mention a very important part, which is the font rendering problem. So as you can see right here, our Goldens folder actually has two subfolders. It has a CI subfolder, and this one contains platform-independent golden images. And this platform independency is achieved by, well, not rendering the texts and the fonts, and instead just blacking them out, as you can see here. And now you could say, okay, hey, but what if I want my text to be tested as well in the golden test? You could change the configuration of Alchemist. That's possible very easily by running your golden test in another configuration. So you have this Alchemist config.run with config, which you can pass a config where you can say obscure text is false, and then it will render the text as well. But you probably shouldn't do that because you will run into problems with your CI pipelines if you run it on different machines. But the nice thing about Alchemist is that it will also give you this macOS folders where the text is not obscured. Okay, next question. When do we use golden tests? Yeah, that's a good question. So of course, you should probably not test every single tiny widget which you use in just one place. What we like to do at my workplace is that we use golden tests for big and important widgets, like one golden test for each screen. Or let's say you have a very specific custom widget you created, which uses the canvas.paint methods. So you're doing custom painting. That would probably be a really good, nice thing to run to write golden tests for, because, well, you have no other way to verify that whatever you're drawing on the canvas is correct if you are doing custom painting. Okay, how does the speed compare to unit tests? Well, they are slower, of course, because you have to write to the disk and so on. But it depends. That's the best answer to any question. It depends basically on the size of your golden images. So if you have like a test with lots of device configurations and so on, it will take a long time, but generally it doesn't take much longer than some seconds. I would say max 5 seconds for a normal golden test.
But unit tests take milliseconds, so
yeah, actually,
unit tests, I guess several factors slower at least.
Yeah, they are slower, of course, but if you run it in a CI/CD pipeline, you probably won't care much.
And also, you cannot compare them to unit tests because you write unit tests for a completely different reason, right? In unit tests, you want to make sure your business logic, your code is actually doing the right thing. And in golden tests, you just want to see something renders correctly. So that's when you should write them, right?
Yeah, that's true. And you need a lot less golden tests than you need unit tests. Okay, Mike is asking, there's another package, NV Golden. Does Alchemist have any advantages? Actually, I have no idea. Sorry, I haven't used that package. I'm hearing about it for the first time. But I was using the eBay Golden toolkit before that, and Alchemist is just easier to use, a lot more comfortable. Yeah. Okay, Yanis, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's asking, I suppose, did you update the goldens on release and test when you deploy? Am I right? Not really. We run the tests, the golden tests, like our unit tests and so on, in our normal CI/CD pipeline. So every time you open up a pull request and push new commits, we execute all our tests and the golden test as well. So developers notice immediately when they break something on the design level. And when do we update the goldens? Well, either when you notice that you need to change something for which you need to update the goldens, or when you create a new screen with a new golden test.
That's a good question, right? What if you have lots of images that clutter up the repository size? I guess you all know that when your Git repository grows large and you have large binary files in there, it gets very slow. And I was working in the past for companies that had Git repositories that were several gigabytes in size, and this is not a good thing. But there is actually a thing called Git Lfs, which stands for Git Large File System, that I can highly recommend. So for your golden files, you could just enable Git Lfs and store the actual files outside of the Git repository. With Git Lfs, you only have a link to a file hosted elsewhere, and your repository stays small and fast. That's also what you would do, right?
Yeah, that's a great thing, Git Lfs. We actually are not using it because the golden images are not that big. Let me just quickly check in our actual repo.
Yeah, it depends. Even if they are small, right, and you update them very frequently because stuff changes, then Git has to diff binaries and also gets slower. So
yeah, that's true. So I just checked for a golden test with 5 screens on an iPod Touch, we need 20 kilobytes.
Yeah.
On an iPhone, you need 1.45 megabytes for that. So yeah, it could add up if you have thousands of images. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, every Git hosting service supports Git Lfs, so just turn it on, and then you will not run into issues, in my opinion.
Okay, Ben is asking what to do with golden tests when you have animation. When the text starts in one place and there's some animation on it, and you want to run the golden test when the animation has been completed. Yeah, that's actually really easily achievable. You can pass, you can basically just call tester.pump and settle. So your animation completes, and then it will take the screenshot when the animation was completed already.
Or you pump a specific duration and you make a screenshot in between, right? The pump function is pretty nice because you can just pump a couple of milliseconds, seconds. You can run the animation to the point that you want to make the screenshot, right? It's quite flexible, the pump function in tests.
I love this question.
Yes, yeah. So I've just seen that Emmanuel was asking the question that I kind of already triggered in the beginning when I introduced the talk of Giuseppe. And yeah, what would be really interesting for me, because Giuseppe is the expert for golden tests here in that round. Yeah, so like currently it's unfortunately not possible to do it with Widgetbook, but internally we're actually working on that. And yeah, I'd just like to have the thoughts of Giuseppe of how he thinks it might be possible to do it.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think it shouldn't be that hard actually, because from what I've seen, how you are using Widgetbook or Widgetbook generator, correct me if I'm wrong, but you define a function which returns a widget, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you can basically use exactly that function for golden test.
Yeah.
You just, because you've seen you had the golden test method, which you pass a builder, and the builder could be the same method that you use for your widget book.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's exactly what we are planning to do. So awesome that we have someone with experience in golden test backing that plan. Great. And I mean, Jonas also had an interesting idea.
Yeah, but that was on the issue of huge images. There's Git Lfs, just as that, but you can also use a submodule, which is kind of like an extra Git repository, which you can use as a subfolder in your main repository.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I really hope that answers the question of Emmanuel. So currently it's not possible, but we're working on it, and it'll most likely be feasible within the next month. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's it. So I'd say Ben can go on with the quiz.
Yeah. I mean, for the people that are still here, now we have the most important quiz with the biggest prizes ever we raffled away. So you can win a large dash with 2 stickers, and you can win a dash cookie cutter with 2 stickers. Whatever that is, it must be awesome because it's only one of each, right? So as usual, join the Mantis quiz, or Menti quiz, and then let's raffle this away, right? So far, all the codes were sent out. I think from the last quiz, I still need Bin Huin to contact me, the person that was first place. So if you want your swag, contact me. Otherwise, we have to do something else with your code. It would be sad, right? Because you won it. You're the rightful owner of this t-shirt. So 9 participants. Who else wants to join? It's a great event today for winning stuff because it's not that many viewers, right? So if you never won something, join this quiz, then you win. Okay, 9 people. I don't know. Let's just start. Who's not here, it's their own problem now. So what is the golden test? The regulatory term for an excessively expensive test. Yeah, that's my answer. Oh, everybody's correct. Good job, guys. You actually listened to the talk.
That's great.
So, let's jump right into the next question. What's the matcher called which is used to run golden test? Expect matches, test golden, assert golden, test image. What is it? Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. Only one.
Somebody listened.
Yeah. That was a very good question. I like it. Next one. What can cause flakiness when running golden tests on a CI pipeline? Yeah. Inconsistencies between rendering, shadows, custom painting, custom widgets. Custom widgets are always an issue, right? Oh, okay. Most of the people got it right. I mean, custom widgets, I mean, obviously you write custom widgets, right? That's what Flutter is about.
What's Flutter
your own widgets
for?
Yeah. It's impossible to use without custom widgets because you need a widget to provide as an app widget, right? Okay, next question. Or last question. Be quick and win. What's the name of the font which all texts are drawn with in the golden test? It's so nice. Squares? What? This is by far my favorite question so far. Oh, guys. Now I'm really curious who won. I mean, it's not speed this time, I guess. So Adrian, congratulations. That was a close battle between Mike and Oscar, and Mike has won. So as usual, you two guys, write me on Twitter or write me an email directly, and then you get your codes. So the first place actually gets the large dash, and the second place gets the cookie cutter. So cookie cutter for you, Mike. So that's it, I guess, for today.
And that was the best one ever. That was a really great quiz. I mean,
it was very thrilling.
Heads off to you, man. Heads off to you. It was insanely good. Okay, now I will firstly thank you very much, Giuseppe. It was really great. And great to have you here. It was your first talk, right?
Yeah, it was really spontaneous.
Yeah, it was really
I decided to.
Really cool. Yeah, thank you very much. Now I will pull you people down. Do not leave anywhere. Let's have a catch up of 2 or 3 minutes after the live stream is over. But yeah, I will pull you down. Ben, I will pull you down as well. Okay, folks. Yeah, it was really great. We learned a lot of good stuff today. I would like to thank our speakers, Jens, Jonas, and Giuseppe. It was really great to have you people here to give us these talks, and we learned a lot. I'm sure people will reach out to you later on with questions. I would like to also thank my co-organizers on this one, Lucas and Jens from Flutter Paderborn, Ben from Flutter Munich, and myself from Flutter Berlin. Go out, check out our meetup pages, be part of it. The times are getting better. Maybe there will be online, maybe there will be in person. Gatherings can happen. Thank you for everyone staying up this late with us and actually being part of this event. Without you people, it wouldn't be happening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was really great for you. And yeah, I hope to see you all later on in another event. So take care, all right? Bye-bye.